Mack Brown back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you been, Coach Brown?
I'm great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing great. What a big week it is on campus there, huh? I'd imagine.
It is. I'm so proud of our basketball team in Hubert, and basketball's so different than football, Rich. Here we are at 10-5 at midseason in the ACC and struggling, and people are all mad, and now we got a chance to win the national championship. So just proud that Hubert's turned it around and stayed so positive, and they're playing at the highest level all year, so it's going to be an exciting weekend.
Now, when you first got to campus there, the coach was Dean Smith, correct? When you first got there?
Yes, I had coached for 9 years.
Wow. So what was that like when you got because you're a young coach just getting started out, fresh from Tulane, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then there's Dean Smith, who's in charge of the basketball program on campus. What was that like for you, Mack Brown?
Rich, it was great, and he was a mentor to me, and he was always so direct. And I just loved it. I laughed with the media one day, and we're walking off. He said, "They're not your friends. Don't laugh with them."
Come on, really?
Smart. That's just not smart. And I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Whatever you think." And then I had a player get in trouble once, and I went over and I said, Coach Smith, what would you do?" And he said, "I've got 13 coaches for 13 players. You got 120 players and 9 coaches. I wouldn't coach football if I was you. It's impossible to keep up with all those guys."
So he was even saying that to you, huh?
Oh yeah. No, he was wonderful, and he was so good at what he did, and so direct, and he taught me so much, and it was a lot of fun. And then I had Coach Guthridge after that for his 3 years, and then I had Roy Williams was here as an assistant, a volunteer assistant when I first got here, and then Roy went to Kansas and came back, and of course I had him the last couple of years, and I remember Hubert here before, and then I knew Hubert really well with ESPN, so it's just fun to watch their success. I'm sitting in my office, and I've got a picture with me and Coach Smith, me and Coach Williams, and now me and Hubert. So
that's amazing.
It's been I need to get Coach Guthridge up there, but we've got the full gamut.
Yeah, because again, you were in your first year at Carolina. That was Hubert's too, right? As a player, he was a freshman when you were on campus there.
So it was so much fun to watch him, and his story is so good. He's overcome so much. Even Coach Smith telling him, "I don't think you ought to come here. You can't play here." and then Coach Williams talking Coach Smith into taking him, and then he's one of the all-time greats here, and NBA great too. And so he just that's who he is. He takes negatives and turns them into positives. He's a guy that is going to lift everybody up around him with a smile, and one of the things he and I talked about before he started is you got to be you. You're following all these legends, but you got to be you. And I'm so proud of him. He is being Hubert Davis. That's what's gotten us to this point and where we are in the Final Four.
Mack Brown, head coach of North Carolina football, joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show, again on a big week on campus there in North Carolina, and that's also because you had your pro day. How did that one work for you? What is your pro day like? How do you approach a pro day, Mack Brown?
Pro day, Rich, for us is an opportunity for all the guys that did not go to the combine to have their combine. And the second thing is if our guys, we had 5 go to the combine, if they didn't do something or if they didn't do something well, it's an opportunity for them to redo it or do it here for the first time and help their stock in the draft. We had all 32 teams represented. They were excited. We've got Coach Darryl Moody, who was a 19-year NFL scout that handles them while they're on campus. We had the NFL Network here. We had ACC Network here. So it's a big deal. And what we want to do is make sure that the scouts get the best evaluation that they can of our guys and give our guys opportunity to improve their stock for the draft. And that's what our day is about. So it's really about being transparent and everybody having a chance to evaluate everybody. And it's even more important after COVID because so many guys didn't get true evaluations in that couple of years for the NFL. I'm sure it hurt some of them. So now we feel like this is this is a great opportunity for them to show who they are.
So, and of course, pro days are different, Mack Brown, when you've got a highly touted quarterback prospect in the draft on your team at your pro day. It might bring a little bit more bees to the hive, right? So what was Sam Howell's pro day like from your perspective, Coach
Sam
Brown?
did a lot of things at the Combine. He had a lot of interviews there. What he did last Monday was throw the ball. And he brought in Ryan Switzer, who was a great player here in the past that's looking for a home because he's in between teams right now. And he brought a couple of guys in from Charlotte that he'd been throwing with. And I thought he really put on a show. I'm sure I'm prejudiced.
Sure.
I wanted it to be good. But if I was a pro scout standing there watching it and the evaluations that I got from the pro scouts that did watch him, he was very accurate. He was all over it. And I thought it was good and will really help his stock.
So, but the conversation about stock and you don't hear his name very much, even in the first three that are mentioned. Certainly in what I do for a living, I constantly hear scouts talk about it, and you hear about Pickett's name, you hear about Matt Corral's name, you also hear Malik Willis's name from Liberty. How does you pound the table for Sam Howell right here? How does he stack up? Why do you think his name is not thrown into this mix as much as we hear?
Well, Rich, we weren't as good. We lose two great receivers to the NFL 2 years ago. We lose two outstanding running backs. All four of them played a lot and started. So we weren't as good. And I felt like we had some entitlement, and I don't think we helped him as much as we should have. But he's tough. He ran the ball more because we didn't protect as well. He's who he is. He didn't get hurt for 3 years. He led our team for 3 years. We're in the mix with a lot of recruits, Rich, and last year we had the 8th best recruiting class in the country, largely because Sam Howell came here. He changed the narrative. He was the best player in the state. He decides to come. Other kids want to come, and I think pro scouts are going to see that. And you and I have been doing this a long time, and one thing we know about the draft is about the time you think something's 100%, it's not. So it just takes one team that has interest that's not going to tell the others,
yes,
because they do not want the other people interested to slip in there and decide they want him and take him. And that's what that's what I'm hoping happens.
All right, so shoot, you just stomped on my next question, was which teams were interested in him. So what can you share?
One thing you're not going to get with teams in the draft is honesty in pre-draft. They are not.
But what about with you? I mean, when you're standing on the side, and I'm sure people are buttonholing you, or you're going up to say hello, and I mean, what are you hearing about him, or the questions that you're getting in regards to Sam that you can share?
We hear good things. The two things would be his height. And there's a lot of guys that aren't really tall that are playing well right now. And the second thing is, why didn't we play better? I mean, and that's not on him. That's on us. And I take responsibility for that as much as anybody. So I sure wish we had him back. I wish that was the deal, but we don't. And so I feel good.
And who else you want to pound the table for? Because we're all talking about your quarterback. Who else?
Yeah. Well, there's some other guys that Ty Chandler came in here from Tennessee, and he gained 1,000 yards as a running back, and he became a captain as a grad transfer, which is a really unique feat that the players would trust him. So I think that's really cool. Josh Azudu is a guy that they feel like's a really good offensive lineman that we had, and we've got some other offensive linemen they're talking about as well. A guy that didn't get to work out as much money is a guy that we feel like is a really good player, and that's Jeremiah Gemmel at linebacker, but he hurt his shoulder some in the bowl game, so he'll be limited here a little bit. But we've told them, Rich, I think the most important thing, and I told the scouts this and the players, we had 10 guys work out Monday. All of them have their degree. And not many people are going to make pro football teams. And if you do, you're probably the average age might be 2 to 3 years. So get your degree, plan for life after football. If you get some pro football in there, great, good for you. But not many people are going to make a great living in pro football. And if you do, if you have 10 years and you get out and you're 30 years old, 31 years old, you got the rest of your life to do something. So we try to get our guys prepared for life after. And then if you can play some on the way, good for you.
Mack Brown here on the Rich Eisen Show, head coach of North Carolina Tar Heel football. How has NIL changed your world, Coach?
Rich, my wife's smarter than I am, and Sally told me when I was griping about NIL early that, artists in college get to sell their art. Musicians get to go play at bars and concerts and make money. So why shouldn't football players or athletes be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness? So I got that. What we don't have is we don't have guardrails. NFL's got more guardrails and guidelines than we do. So I'm all for it. I like the fact guys can make some money, but we don't even have a salary cap. So we need to learn from the NFL. They've got more guidelines than we do. So I hate the fact that NIL was thrown on all athletics directors and coaches without guidelines.
So then what guidelines would you want? If you could...
I think we've got to figure out what we can do to make sure that some of the word, I think, that's public is not true when they're talking about millions and millions of dollars. I don't think that stuff's really happening like people are saying it. But I think what we should do is try to help all the young people get some money. I thought maybe there's a $50,000 bonus when you graduate. Maybe there's group licensing because these are team sports. It still was about amateurism, and now we're not. We're inching closer to pro football with college sports, and that's just what we're doing. So it's a difficult thing. Same thing with the transfer portal. I think we can put more guidelines on it about when and how, but we're putting maybe too much money in some young people's pockets, more than they're ready to handle. We're making them be adults sooner than they have in the past with paying taxes and having agents and a lot of different decisions that are coming earlier than some would like. And at the same time, some young guys get too much money, and I see one the other day that buys him some Crocs for $250, and I said, "Why would you do that?" He said, "I can." We've got to do a better job of making sure that we're talking to them about how to handle their money and how to save their money and how to make sure that they have money moving forward, because if a guy makes $50,000 off an NIL deal, that may be the most money he ever makes in his life if he doesn't finish his degree. So I hate right now, Rich, that we're talking more about NIL deals than we are your degree and what you're going to do, because your money's going to come afterwards for the large majority of these kids. Your money's not going to come up front. And we've told them it's really about your ball, not your brand, because if you're not playing great ball, they're not going to pay you. And they say it's you can't be paid for your ball. Well, that's what the supporters are going to pay for. So we can say what we want, but those are the facts.
Yeah, sure. Your name, image, and likeness is enhanced by how good you are at your craft. I understand that. Are schools in recruiting based on your knowledge? Just saying, you come here, you will make this much in NIL, like making that part of the recruiting process from what you
Yes, Rich, there's always been cheating, and that's cheating. You can't just say that, but people are. I've had kids come in my office and say, "If you'll give me this much money, I'll come here." And I said, "Well, who has offered you this?" And they'll tell me the schools. And I said, "Are there any guidelines?" No. Have they told you have to do anything for it? No. So but there's cheating in every business. I mean, that's the way it is. What I think we need is to start having contracts. We're being more like the NFL. I think it's unfair for a young guy to hear he's going to make $50,000, and then he gets to the school and they say, "No, you misunderstood." So let's sign contracts. Let's have NIL contracts where, and they're going to start putting in there, you got to go to the bowl game, you can't opt out of the season, you can't flunk out, you can't get a DUI, you can't get arrested, you can't quit the team. But I think it's as we get more like the NFL, we're going to see people that are demanding contracts, And I think that's fair, because I'm afraid we're in the early stages of this, and we're all trying to figure out how to navigate it. And I'm afraid there's going to be some families and some students that are lied to that think they're going to get a lot of money, and then they're not going to get it when they get there.
Mack Brown here on the Rich Eisen Show from North Carolina football. A couple minutes left with you. I'd love to pick your brain going down memory lane. What was, you just had your pro day for Sam Howell. What was Vince Young's pro day like back in the day at Texas?
Vince was so good, but Rich, it was the same stuff. Can he throw? Will he stay healthy? He was in a spread offense. Will that relate to the NFL? And then it got to be he and Matt Leinart were the two that everybody was talking about at the time, and then the coaches at the Titans were USC coaches, and they might want Leinart, and then they got Vince because of the owner. And so draft is always crazy. It's just crazy. So I've told guys, have absolutely no expectations in the draft. Don't have a big party. Have your party after you're drafted. Don't spend your money, because it's not yours till you make the team. And then after that, start back on life and get it headed back in the right direction.
Have you spoken to Vince lately? Do you know what's going on with him at all? Or
yes, he's doing great. He finished school. He still works at the University of Texas. He's got a lot of businesses going on. I probably touch base with Vince 2 or 3 times a month. So I'm really, really proud of what he's doing. We have a charity with Jack Ingram and Matthew McConaughey in a couple of weeks here, end of April, and Vince is going to be there and play a little golf. He's playing more golf. Okay. So I used to be able to beat him. I couldn't. He couldn't find the ball. He'd hit it so far. But from what I'm hearing from him and what I see on Twitter, I think I've got my hands full.
I like it.
I'm back to a full-time job now, and he's not. So
I like that.
He's playing more golf than I'm playing, so I'm afraid I'm in trouble.
What a night that was in the Rose Bowl. I'm not talking about the year after against my alma mater. I'm talking about that night against USC. Were you? I've never asked you this question. Were you surprised Reggie Bush wasn't in on that last play for USC?
I really wasn't, because the Lindell White had made all the yards. He'd had 125 yards that night. Reggie had 1 run. So it was a power play that had killed us all night. So a lot of people were so critical of Pete. We thought Lindell was going to get the ball. We thought it would be a power play, and we put all 11 on the line of scrimmage. And I remember Gene Chizik, the defensive coordinator, who's here with us now, said, what if they throw it? I said, congratulations. They're going to win a national championship if they catch it. But we're going to stop Lindell White from making 2 yards.
Yeah, but I mean,
Reggie, that's what happened.
Reggie wouldn't have put something in your mind like something's up, or he wouldn't. That's the old saw here, is that at least he would have required some of your attention,
Rich, I don't think so. I think when you're 4th and 1, 4th and 1.5, and they'd been running it right down our throat, and we couldn't stop the big guy, I think Reggie would have been like the pass. If they pitch it to Reggie wide, congratulate him and let's go home. But we thought they would take it and run it down our throat, and we thought that's what they should do, because they'd been doing that all night.
Mack Brown, what a great chat this was, and I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to the next time already. Let's connect. Thanks again.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you having me on.
Anytime. That's Mack Brown, head coach of North Carolina football, for a second time right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.